This episode of Rookie Hunter is brought to you by the Wild Sheep Foundation. Adventures in sheep country can change your life, and as residents of BC, we're very fortunate to have 3 different species of sheep in our province. After attending the Wild Sheep Foundation's annual convention, Sheep Show, in Reno, Nevada, we got to see what conservation looks like firsthand. The Wild Sheep Foundation's ability to raise and put millions of dollars on the ground each year to keep these majestic animals on the mountaintops worldwide is unmatched. The Wild Sheep family is a diverse group of people from all walks of life, and membership is open to anyone. Whether you're a seasoned pro, it's your first time on the mountain, or you just like to see sheep on the hillside, you can sign up and join today. Kelly and I are lifetime members, but you can become an annual member for just $45. You can also become a member of the Less Than One Club, which is the only club you want to get kicked out of. If you've never taken a North American or international ram, you can join us in the Less Than One Club for an extra $25. Plus, Less Than One Club membership also includes entry into a draw for 3 separate Doll sheep hunts, which will be given away at Sheep Show in 2019. For more information on the Wild Sheep Foundation and to become a member, head over to thewildsheepfoundation.org. Hey guys, welcome to episode 99, one away from episode 100. Big thank you to everybody who sent in a submission so far. You've got until April 1st to get those in. I've listened to some of them and there's lots of good stuff, so keep it coming guys if you want to be included. I honestly don't know if this is going to be a 2-part episode or what, but we're going to try and make it all work with some clips from past episodes and kind of a throwback to everything we've done over 3 years of podcasting in 100 episodes. Today on the show, we've got our friend Nolan Osborne. Nolan's living the guide life, and he explains how he got into it, and we get into a whole whack of sheep talk. He had a bunch of good tips for us, and he's been pretty helpful in helping us make a solid plan for our trip, which is coming up in August. This was an early morning recording from our pepper mill archives. If we sound a little tired and hungover, well, that's just part of being at the Sheep Show. Please support our sponsors. Speaking of the Sheep Show, the Wild Sheep Foundation, become a member and join the Less Than One Club at thewildsheepfoundation.org. Get yourself a blade from northarmknives.com. Since we're coming up to 100, I'm going to ask a big favor. I try to lay off this, but it is important to us and we do appreciate it. Please go to iTunes specifically or wherever you get your podcast from and leave us a 5-star rating and review. It would make Kelly and I very happy to see a whole whack of new ratings and reviews leading up to episode 100. So get on it. Help us out. This show's free. We put a lot of time and effort into it, and I think you guys dig it. So anyways, that's enough out of me. Let's get into this one. Sit back, relax, crack a nice cold beer, and enjoy episode 99 with our friend Nolan Osborne.
Now, test 1 2.
That sounds better. I don't know.
How's this sound?
You sound good.
I sound good in my own ears, but
maybe it's just this headset.
Oh yeah. You guys are prepped, eh? Beer, water,
oranges.
So, did I steal your pizza last night?
No, I think I stacked them up, and you kind of fell asleep on them. And then I was like, oh, whatever.
Nolan, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us in the pepper mill.
In the pepper mill.
It's a classy joint, eh?
It is actually pretty nice. Yeah.
I'm happy it's here.
Yeah. Nolan, when did you start hunting?
I started hunting basically when I was 18.
Okay.
Yeah, my uncle took me out a couple times before that. Maybe 16 and 17, I think he took me out. But yeah, I got my firearms license and all that kind of stuff when I was 18 and
nice.
got pretty into it.
Yeah, right away.
Yeah, fairly. I had some friends around. One, it's actually my best friend. Lived down the street from me, and anyways, his family hunted, so his older brother took us out quite a bit. Nice. Yeah.
What pushed you into guiding?
Yeah, it's a good. I don't know. I think it was. In some ways, I went to school for commercial photography, so I was living in Toronto, downtown Toronto, and just kind of assisting photographers and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then And then it's actually my best friend that I just mentioned, my buddy Cam. One of his older brothers was doing his master's at the time on fisheries work, Chinook salmon and all that kind of stuff. And anyway, so he needed a field tech, and I had no experience in science and all that kind of stuff, but he basically, we used to duck hunt together all the time, and he's like, oh, this guy's good in shitty weather. And so he convinced his advisor to hire me as a field tech. Yeah, and I worked for University of Western in London for like a year.
Oh, wow.
Doing field research with fish and stuff like that. And that was kind of the point where I was like, I should do something outside.
Right.
You know, I love animal, like always been into animals, always been interested in nature. I love hunting. I like fly fishing. It's like kind of seemed like a no-brainer. I was at a point where I was maybe 22 at the time. So like, kind of perfect point in your life to jump off into something like that. Yeah, just like not a lot of risk in it, right? Like no kids, no mortgage, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then my sister was living in BC, and I went out and visited her for Christmas. And I believe, I just decided, I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna move to BC. Like I've always wanted to. When I was a kid, I wanted to live in BC. Tried to convince my parents to move. We came out to Kelowna, actually. We went to Big White, went skiing. And I was just like, why do we live in Ontario? Like, my entire life at that point was skiing and mountain biking. So I was like, flattest place ever. And anyways, visited my sister for Christmas, was like, yep, okay, gonna move out here. Don't know what I'm gonna do, but before, like next year before Christmas, that's my end date, right? Like, yeah. And then it just kind of was like, I think one day I was watching a TV show or something, and I just kind of was like, yeah, hunting guide would be kind of cool. Like,
that's it, eh?
Pretty much. Yeah, it wasn't like some, destiny or. Yeah. I just kind of was like, that would be, I like hunting. Why wouldn't I try and do what I like for work?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Did you connect with outfits here at Sheep Show originally?
I did. Yeah. So I actually met Adam Yankee for beers the first time I'd ever met him. Sorry. Like maybe 3 weeks before the Sheep Show, 3 or 4 weeks before the Sheep Show, and that would have been it was like December 2014, I think, and I'd moved out west in 2013.
Right.
So I'd been emailing outfitters before that and trying to cold call and stuff, but like no experience.
Right.
I'd never seen a fucking stone sheep in my life, or a moose, or a caribou, or a grizzly. Never been on a horse. At that point, I never really done much hunting in BC.
Right.
A little bit of black-tailed deer stuff on the island, black bear.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'd called people. That was unsuccessful. And then, met up with Adam for beers. We'd talked back and forth on Instagram. And he was in Vancouver at the time, so I went over for Christmas, had beers. He's like, oh, like, he's like, what the fuck do you do for work? Because you're always hunting. He's like, I always see on your Instagram, it's like a Tuesday evening and you're deer hunting like every day. And at the time I was doing masonry on the island.
Okay.
And the job site was like 10 minutes from this hunting spot that I used to hunt a bit. And it was really bad hunting. Well, it's good in the rut, but that's about it.
Yeah.
And my boss had just got into hunting with Jesse Bone, who's Filter Studios, him and Tash. So anyways, they had just got into hunting, and I was game to hunt all the time. And my boss was like pretty cool about dipping out early for work. He'd be like, it'd be like a rainy 2 p.m. and just pouring rain, like he'd miserable for doing stonework.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, hey, why don't we go deer hunting?
Nice.
And twist my arm, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
And where was I going with this? Reno.
Yeah. How you ended
Oh
up
yeah.
with
So
it.
met Yankee. He's like, what do you do? I told him what I just told you, basically.
Yeah.
I said, but what I'm trying to do is get into guiding. Like, I want to be in the guiding industry. I want to become a hunting guide sometime. And I haven't been successful. And he was like, dude, you got to come down to the Sheep Show. He had never been. He had just, what point did he start the journal? I think it was like August 2014.
Okay.
So it's like 6-ish months, almost 6 months into his foray of that. And so he just kind of asked me, he's like, hey, if you want to come down? I'm like, what is this thing? Like, I didn't know I don't even think I knew that stone sheep existed
Yeah.
at that point. And he's like, hey, you can. I was like, I don't know, dude. Like, I'm broke. I can't. He's like, you can crash on my hotel room floor or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So borrowed some money from my parents for plane tickets because I was like, literally, I think I had like $100,
Nice.
something like that. Yeah. And went down to Reno and
Rest history.
met a bunch of outfitters.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Nice.
Perfect. So, how many years have you been doing it then? At this point,
I think this will be my 5th season coming up.
Right.
Guiding. Yeah.
Nice.
nice.
Or like guiding wrangling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Started out wrangling in the Yukon.
Was there a point where you're like, what am I getting myself into? Or is it just fun?
Yeah, it was like the first day we trailed in. I think it was like 7 hours on a horse.
Yeah.
And I'd been on a horse for, my girlfriend bought me for my birthday, which is right like at the end of June. She bought me like this trail ride in Golden Ears, like a 30-minute trail ride. So that was my horse experience.
Right.
So like first day on a horse, like 7 hours. And I just, and I was leading, I think probably 3 or 4 horses behind me. And I was just like, what in the fuck am I doing here? Yeah. But it was also like awesome. Loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 7 hours on a horse. Can you walk after that?
Mm-mm.
No.
I can now. I know how to ride a horse. So
Yeah, exactly. Well, we were thinking like if we ever get to go horse hunting, we'll probably have to do some prep before we get out there, right?
I don't think so. I mean, it's a different. Usually we don't do a lot of long rides like that with
Right.
clients. We try not to. Yeah, I mean, it's usually trailing in and out, or you get long days.
Okay.
But yeah, it's probably like a different leg strength and stuff like that. The thing is for me, like nobody told me how to ride a horse.
Mhm.
So I just sat in the saddle, which is not what you do. Right. So it basically just like felt like I'd been kicked in the taint hundreds of times by an NFL punter. Like it was so painful. Even getting back in the saddle the next day too. And then the unfortunate thing is I also soared up the horse in doing that because you want to have like most of your weight in the stirrups and you're just basically resting. Kind of like if you're biking, if you're on a mountain bike and you actually just took your feet off and you were sitting right into the not comfortable.
Okay. Noted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many days are you spending in the bush per year?
That is I don't actually have a definite answer.
Yeah.
I think it's probably somewhere around 120 or 30, maybe 150. Depends on the year.
Right.
Depends on how much hunting I get out for myself.
Yeah.
Some years it's been more. Like one year I did some little bit of spring stuff, did a grizzly hunt up north on the coast. And then did late season goat after that. But the main season I do is like 90 days.
Yeah.
And then anything kind of I tack on top of that.
Right.
So yeah, kind of maybe 120.
Nice. What are you guys doing in the off season for prep?
What do you mean prep?
Well, like, I don't know, you guys going in there and cleaning up trails? Are you just focusing on getting in shape or?
For guiding preseason, we go in 2 weeks before.
Yeah.
Usually 2 or 3 weeks before. And shoe the horses and catch them, get everything sorted out, and then go and cut trail, and stuff like that. I honestly don't train at all, ever. So
You get it while you're out there.
basically,
Yeah.
yeah. I know it's like not popular and whatever, but you know what? I don't think I know any guides that train, honestly. I don't know a single guide that like.
They're just living it.
Yeah, I think so. And I think you just try and do, for me at least, like I just try and lead a very mountainy existence. So I think that kind of helps.
Yeah.
Like I recently got into ski touring, so nice to be able to go and do some of that for the legs.
Yeah, for sure.
I like hiking, so I just hike in the spring and summer, and temperatures like weather's pretty good in Vancouver, so you can mountain bike year round. I don't really, but yeah.
I met a guy who he's cycled all through Europe, him and his wife, and they'll go for like months at a time.
Wow.
So I was asking him, like, same thing. I was kind of interested in the idea and asked him how much time he'd spend training for that. He said, you don't. You just get on the bike and start pedaling. And within, a week's time, you're ready to go.
Yeah.
First couple of days suck, but you just got to hop on the bike and start pedaling.
And I think the difference, like Adam and I have talked about this, the difference with guiding is that, by the time my preseason's done, I'm like in decent enough shape.
Yeah.
I usually fluctuate weight quite a bit through the season.
Right.
I probably go in around 170 pounds, and every year I've came out right around 145. So,
yeah, we were 10 days when we went up, and you lost 10 pounds or
Pounds
something.
a day.
Yep. Yeah. Obviously, I can't lose 90 pounds in a season, otherwise it'd be a wraith. But yeah, by the end of it, you're like, you just don't really have any body fat.
Yeah.
Your muscles super lean.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's an interesting thing about working out and stuff. I've talked to some guys before who are pretty like gym focused, and they've said before, especially for backpack sheep hunting, that it's actually worse if they come in with they come in with the same amount of body fat if you have too much muscle mass.
Right.
It just doesn't do you any.
Right.
Like, you don't look at my arms, right? Like, I don't need arms for. You just need good legs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. I've hiked with some guys who are like in incredible shape. They dedicate their free time to going to the gym. They can't hike worth shit. They're just slow and getting gas very easily, right?
Totally.
Just, you can be built for different types of things, but backpacking's a whole other.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I honestly think so much of it is mental.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I agree.
I think it's important to try and be, set yourself up for success, right? Like, I would love it if every one of my clients really focused on training and fitness and all that kind of stuff. But they don't. So
yeah,
I think it's just like, if you can tough it out, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna.
What's so when you've got a client, I think we've asked this to another guide before too, but what kind of do you give them like some bullet points on here's some things you should consider before doing this hunt, or you just expect that they know that they should be in somewhat good shape? And
yeah, I actually don't deal with any of the client stuff.
Yeah.
I don't even know, I know what they're hunting. I don't know who they are.
right.
You usually get an in-reach message when they land,
Hmm.
like, hey, your guy's name is so-and-so, and then they'll come in.
It's got to be interesting, man. I'm sure you've met some great folks and some that you probably felt like leaving out there, but
Just one guy.
just one. That's pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
We've heard a few guide stories for sure of guys that just, I don't know, not really sure what the reason for them being out there is. They don't want to do any of the work. They just want to go out there and shoot something, and then
Yeah. I was talking to someone about that. Was I talking to you guys about this?
I'm not sure.
Like, percentages of clients that seem like they just are there to put a head on a wall
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
nothing else, or
I was talking to another guy about it yesterday.
okay.
He said it's like 50-50.
I'd say for me, in my experience, it's probably like, I don't know, maybe 10%. That truly are just like, I don't care to like hunt.
Right.
Really, they just want to shoot something.
Right.
It's interesting talking to older guides. Like, I guide with a guy who's in his 50s. He's guided for, I don't know, 27 years or something like that, 28 years. And talking about how things used to be, or if you talk to older, some older outfitters, like, do you guys ever reach out to Darwin Carey at Scoop Lake?
No, but we should.
Yeah,
We had lots of people telling us we should. So,
yeah, they're here. But anyways, so he did some flying for us this year and dropped into one of my camps, and it was super smoky, so he couldn't take off. We just sat there and BS'd and had a coffee, and talking to him about how things used to be, longer hunts. It's interesting. There's a part of me that wishes that that's the way things still were.
Right.
When people came in and it wasn't so much of a focus of just like, okay, I'm here to kill a stone sheep and then fly out immediately afterwards.
Right.
They'd go 17 or 21 days and just hunt, right? And you'd hunt for everything. Like, that's that's the way it used to be, even in the early 90s, which is, not that long ago. And I think there's been a shift there, and I think that's perhaps just the industry reflecting, I think, how we live, right? Like, everyone's so busy, so much, like, so work focused, and especially as the hunt prices climb, right? Like I don't know what we're booking sheep for now, probably 46,000 US or something like that. So the nature of that is that the people who can afford those hunts are typically busy business people, right? And it's just, I think it's unfortunate when you have someone who's, like you're just in the most beautiful place in the world.
Yeah, it seems like you're missing the most important part of being out there. It's not really killing something; it's everything else.
Totally.
But
yeah, for me at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To each their own, I guess. But
yeah,
I think we should dwell on that because I think, like you said, the percentage of people who are out there for, I guess, the right reasons is higher. So
yeah, I think so. Or maybe they come into it, they come into it with the idea that they're there for one thing, but I think a lot of people get more out of it. And just like, I mean, even the Northern Lights are just fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Right. Like, walk out of your tent for a piss at 3 a.m. and the whole sky's just lit up, and you're like, yeah, this is cool.
Yeah.
So I think you get a lot of people who, they might come in day one, they're like, okay, this is what I want, and blah, blah, blah. They have these expectations, and then as the hunt rolls on, they really are just like,
just taking it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to have a wicked experience and come home with an animal.
Yeah.
I think the guy I was talking to was from more southern BC.
Okay.
So I don't know, maybe the clients are a little different in their mentality. Like if you're going to northern BC, then you're kind of probably that type of person already. So maybe that's why his ratio was maybe a little on the 50-50 side. I don't know. I would imagine that the hunts in southern BC are a little more considered easier than going up to northern BC.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know. But you guys see more women going into camp these days, like for hunts, or
I don't.
No,
I don't. But
I hear more. There's more guides, obviously, that are women now, and there's a few here at the show.
Yeah,
Rachel
there's a lot of them out there, actually.
Yeah.
I know Big Nine. Big Nine has a bunch of lady guides.
Nice.
Yeah.
Want to talk about sheep hunting?
Yeah.
Will you give us some advice?
I can try.
Okay.
Yeah.
As you know, we got a big hunt planned for August.
Exciting.
Yeah, super exciting. Wondering if you could sort of like take us through sort of what maybe we could expect a little bit from like day one. What should we be doing? What should we focus on as we land there? And what day 2, day 3, day 4 might look like? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And how many days are you guys going for?
We've got 12, I think, but there's 2. Like 2 of those days are going to be flying in there, so it'll be
10 days, 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've asked the pilot. He's going to get us on one of the first flights in, so we can get in there nice and early, and he's going to try and pick us up later on the way out, so we can extend. If we want to go out for a quick hunt in the morning, if we have something to do, then we'll have some time to do it.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Early morning flights suck. It just gives you, like, you never know, right? You might you kill something on the last day and you're way out there.
Exactly.
Or you see something and you're like, hey, I know I have time to make it.
Yeah.
Trying to think. Yeah. I mean, I think just the most important thing is just sitting in your glass as much as possible.
Yeah.
I've done very little backpacking for sheep. Trying to think. Like,
what do you think about like choosing a location to set up camp? Like, there's some considerations for that.
Water.
Yeah.
Yeah, water. Somewhere near water. There's probably going to be. What time of year are you guys going?
August.
Should be lots of water.
Mid-August. Yeah.
Should be. And yeah, I mean, I kind of know the country you guys are going to, so I think there's lots of water. Considerations. See, I always camp in spots that we have horses, right?
Yeah.
So they always need to bring the horses back down to feed and water. Right. In my eyes, I think the perfect way to hunt sheep would be to have horses to get you somewhere, and then backpack from there.
Right.
But yeah, I usually just set up. Like if I'm backpacking, just set up wherever. Take your tents, and you guys just got one tent, or
yeah,
nice, yeah. Take a tent and roll wherever, but try not to sleep right with the sheep.
Right.
Yeah, they're not that spooky though.
Right.
Like it's interesting because I think I think in part maybe just because of the remoteness and everything else with sheep hunting, they've been built up to be this really almost magical thing, right? And don't get me wrong, I love sheep hunting. Sheep are cool. We're obviously here at the sheep show for a reason. But yeah, I mean, I just think people build them up to a point where it becomes, it's almost like psychosomatic, where you kind of psych yourself out and you think it's this harder thing than it
Right.
needs to be, because sheep are really, they're skittish. They see things they don't know, they'll run,
Right.
but they're not, it's not like white-tailed deer. They're not going to belly crawl under a rock to hide from you or something like that, right?
And we see some of them, like we see the Callies in Kelowna and along Grand Forks.
Yeah.
I mean, and those sheep are obviously much closer to roads and civilization, but they just seem kind of do their own thing. Like
Yeah, I think that's a little different,
yeah.
like sheep. If you come over a hill and skyline yourself and there's sheep 1,000 yards away, like they will run.
They'll run.
Usually rams will, older rams especially.
Yeah.
Young ones, like I've had young sheep walk within, like literally from me to you away.
Wow.
Just sitting glassing in a shale slide or whatever. But
Right. I was kind of picturing us being like, hiking for a day and then setting up camp up above the Alpine.
Mhm.
Like maybe if we can find some type of lake or stream
Yeah.
up there, in some type of bowl or whatever. But I guess the challenge there is you don't want to set up right by a lake in a bowl where there's sheep potentially, and your wind's going to be like going up the side of that.
Yeah, I'd say that's the biggest thing. Like they don't seem to be that skittish about tents. I know guys who've literally like woken up and shot sheep in their underwear. Like gone out for a piss first thing in the morning, and they're like, "Holy crap!"
Yeah.
Grab their rifle and yeah.
I read a book. Adam Yonke was actually handing it out. It was that Dangerous River one.
Yeah.
With the guy going up to Nahani there.
Okay, yeah.
And that's what he did a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
Strolling his underwear and with a handgun. This is like 18 whenever, and
Yeah.
sheep 20 yards basically.
Yeah.
That was his meal for
Yeah.
a few weeks.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think kind of circling back there when you guys are asking like a day-to-day thing,
Yeah.
like I think it's good to just go into it with I'm not a planner. Really. Like
Right.
I'm not, like I just kind of my feeling is like you just hunt, right?
Yeah, I feel like
hunt.
anytime we've made a plan, it's not even worth it, because by the time you get in there, you can look at maps and shit and you get a vision of like what you think it's going to be like when you
Yeah.
get in there. And then you get there and it's like, well, it was fun to look at all those maps, but it's kind of useless now that we're standing in this shit and it's totally different than what we thought. So
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, is being like, planning is great, and scouting, like you said, map scouting,
Yeah.
scouting, great tool, especially even just to look at like aspects and light and stuff like that, right? Like, have you ever used that slider on Google Earth where you can see different times of year, you can see where the sun's going to be?
right.
So that kind of
That's
stuff,
cool, yeah.
that kind of stuff's great. Like I use that for late season goat hunting, because you can look at certain cliffs and everything, and you basically just go like, okay, these have the most amount of sun throughout the day. Therefore, that's probably where I'm going to find the animals. A little bit different for sheep. Like you're just going to find them, but they're going to be where they are, right? Like
Yeah.
it's like anything else. So, yeah, just sit in your binos, right? Like
Yeah.
fly and hike up into the Alpine, and
I'm hoping that the tent will be in a spot where we can glass from. Would be nice.
well, yeah, that's the thing. Like I don't know, when I have backpacked for sheep, like I've just slept on ridge tops, right?
Yeah.
So you can usually just, that's the beauty of backpacking, I think, for sheep,
Right.
is that you're not, you're not doing what we do with horses, where you're like, okay, it might be light until 11 in August, but
Right.
you're like, okay, well, we got to be off. We got to leave by like 9:30 or whatever, right?
Yeah, so you're
And-
somewhat constricted that way.
Yeah. And sometimes that's just dictated by like, okay, well, it's 9 o'clock, it's 9 p.m. and we haven't seen any sheep yet, or we haven't seen what we're after. So we'll go back down and all that kind of stuff. But it's nice when you can just have mountain house and still sit in your glass, right? Or you can put sheep to bed. You see a sheep ram bedded down somewhere that you can't get to it. Where you could get there, but you can't kill it because it's on top of a pinnacle somewhere,
Right.
and it can see 360.
Yeah.
And just sit there and watch them, and to be able to put them to bed and try and make a plan for the next morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the beauty of backpack hunting.
Cool.
But that would be my kind of like, I don't really have a, do this day 1, day 2,
Yeah,
day,
yeah.
don't be afraid to move around, and just glass a lot.
Yeah.
Because they blend the fuck into the rocks,
Right.
man. Like,
I think
Yeah.
that's one thing we have to remember when we go up there is try to put them to bed and do that. It could be 1 day, it could be 2 days.
yeah.
Because all the hunting we've done is kind of like you see it, you make a plan, you make a move, and you go, right?
Yeah.
It's a totally different.
Yeah.
We have time.
Yeah.
So I think we got to keep that in mind in the moment.
Yeah. Bring a book.
Yeah.
You guys use like what are those little e-readers called?
Like a Kindle or whatever. Yeah.
You guys use those?
No, but probably wouldn't be a bad idea to have something like
I think
that.
they're pretty cheap, aren't they?
I think so. Yeah.
Pretty light too.
Yeah. Do you know James Dorrit?
No.
Okay, he used to be a backpack guide. That's what he always did.
Oh, okay.
He really likes reading. He'd load like whatever 1,000 books on his and just read and
Yeah, keep yourself busy. Because if I don't have something to entertain me, I'll go
glassing
fucking
is
nuts.
hard.
Man.
Yeah. I think glassing is like that's a learned skill for sure. And just to be able to sit there, and stare through binoculars for 10 hours, 12 hours, 14 hours in a day, like fucking hard. So it's nice to just have something to do. I don't do that with clients. I can't because you look like a dick if you're sitting there reading. They're kind of like, how much money did I pay for this? But yeah, for myself, like I've actually never hunted sheep for myself. So this will be my first year this year.
Nice.
Bighorns. Yeah.
What do you got planned?
Late season bighorn hunt in the Kootenays. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
That'll be a good one.
Yeah. Hopefully.
And you did your goat hunt last year?
Yep.
That was February.
Yeah. Yeah.
I imagine you had a few learnings out of that one.
Yeah. That one was, that was pretty eye-opening too, because Dustin Rowe came with us and, just anytime you can spend time with people who have that much experience, like everything is a lesson in my eyes. I'm like, it's how they, where they pick camp spots, like, and just try and pick their brains and ask them like, okay, why did you do that? Right. Why? And some people might not know why, or they might just say, yeah, camp here because it's flat,
right,
or something simple like that. But yeah, definitely that wasn't the first late season goat hunt I'd been on. I went on one with Yonke and James Dorrit back in December of 2015. Yeah, and it's just whatever. They're miserable.
Yeah, you guys like to punish yourselves with the late season ones, eh?
Well, it's like for guides, it's a great time a year to go, right? I mean, for me, typically I don't, you don't have a ton of stuff going on in the wintertime. Like in February, I'm not trying to hunt other things. And really, it just depends on how your season goes. But like, I usually don't get back out from guiding until like October 15th.
Right.
So by that point, Stone Sheep's done. You have some Kootenays hunts, I think, that run a little bit later than that into October 20th, or this one of the place I'm going to go is the 25th.
Okay.
But even then, it's like you just don't have a whole ton of time to really do mountain hunts and stuff. So late season goat's an option, and for anyone who's been around the coast, the north coast of British Columbia in November, it is miserable. Like it's the worst place to be on earth in November, I think. It's just so wet, right? Like so much rain and so much, Devil's Club. And generally speaking, all the valleys are chock full of grizzly bears. So yeah, for me, it's like, okay, well, February usually you got longer days, you've got more snowpack. For the rivers and stuff like that, right? So if everything's iced over, it makes river crossing easier, or at least it's cold enough that the water flows really low at that time of year. Yeah, so that's kind of why February for me, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Going back to sheep, well, goat falls into that category too. For a hide prep, if you want to do a mount, what are you guys doing what kind of tips do you have for that?
Especially in August, if we get a sheep down.
Yeah. Salt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much salt are you packing in? Because that's it.
See, I don't even. I'm not the guy to ask for that because we got horses.
Yeah.
So like,
well, yeah, you put lots of salt.
I'll have like I usually get 50-pound bag flown in every hunt, and then later in the season a couple of them. If you're doing combos for moose, caribou, or whatever. I don't know. I kind of feel like 10 pounds is probably lots. But you guys are gonna have multiple tags, right?
Yeah.
Like you guys both have sheep tags. You both have goat tags.
Yeah, there's 3 of us. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Caribou tags.
Yep.
What time of year are you going?
August 18th.
Okay, so caribou's not
I think it's halfway through.
Yeah, halfway through, and moose opens up halfway through as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is it any bull
I believe so. Yeah.
or is it a try palm?
No, I
this
think it's
time of
any
year?
bull. Yeah,
Okay,
I'll
cool.
have to double check, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's good moose country.
Yeah.
I would personally would never backpack a moose ever, but
That's my view on it.
there might be, be pretty hard if like you're looking at a 60-inch moose to say no.
Depends
Yeah.
where it is
Yeah.
in relation to where we're flying out from. So
That being said, you probably, I'm trying to think. I never see moose in August.
yeah,
Like you see moose sign everywhere.
right.
But when the bulls are in velvet, you just don't
Right.
you don't see them very, like, you'd literally think there was not a moose in that country, and then start of September, the rut starts to kick off.
Yeah,
They
they're
become
everywhere.
hard horned, and it's just like pop. There's moose
Right.
everywhere. So, anyways, hide prep. Yeah. What are you planning on doing? Like shoulder? Or?
I'll probably do it if it depends who ends up with it, but I'd probably just do a Euro mount. But Kelly's definitely interested in doing a shoulder.
If you do a Euro, this might be, I don't know, unpopular. I don't know if you want to cut it out or whatever, but sell the cape.
Yeah.
100%.
Hmm.
Yeah. Bring it
Interesting.
out, skin it all out, turn everything. There's some pretty good videos out there, like taxidermy prep videos and stuff like that. I think I might have one kicking around. I can send you.
Okay.
It's like a taxidermist in BC somewhere, like does a whole stone sheep. Someone brings it in. He does a video, like start to finish, skinning the head, the skull still in the cape and everything like that. But yeah, that's definitely a big consideration. But yeah, you can get, like, I don't know, should be able to get $1,500, $2,000 for a stone sheep cape.
Crazy.
Yeah, pretty easy.
Yeah. No, I should clarify. I wasn't planning on leaving the hide behind.
Oh, okay.
But so Kelly would want to do like a full-on shoulder mount.
Yeah.
I would do a Euro and probably keep the hide and do a rug or something like that with it. But
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
A wall thing.
yeah,
the most important consideration for that is to talk to a taxidermist beforehand if you're not comfortable doing that kind of stuff. Anytime you can practice, like for me, I'd never done anything like that. Like when I hunted in Ontario, it's like my uncle doesn't mount anything, right? Like he'll cut the skull cap off a deer and hang it in the rafters upside down. He's got, tons of bucks that are they're all upside down in the spare bedroom, and then doesn't even keep some of them. Like he didn't keep any of the ones from, he's probably, wouldn't be surprised if he shot a couple hundred deer in his life. So, and doesn't keep that. Anyways, what I was getting at was that I didn't have anyone to kind of like, coach me on that stuff when I was younger. So I just started learning on the job, and then for me, for a while, I was just like, anytime I shot a deer, a black bear, I personally, like, I don't have anything mounted, so I would just practice on that, right?
Yeah.
So if you're bear hunting this year and you're not going to keep the hide or whatever, or like I've done a throw rug, right? So you cut the head and the paws off, and kind of just keep that throw rug shape. But then you can still learn how to like turn lips and nose and stuff, because sheep cape's really thin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What are you guys using for knives?
North Arm knives, of course.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got some good blades. Yep. But
Nice.
I don't know if you bring your Avalon anymore, or if you just stick to your.
I usually throw it in just because it's so light.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's 70 grams or something like that. 60.
Yeah. I use a Avalon. Yeah.
For something like, if you have to turn the skull or like that area, the lips and all that, I would imagine something nice and small, like precision wise.
Yeah.
I use the mallard and trout knife is what it's called. It's just a small blade on there, but I like it because it's really easy to kind of fish around in there and get into small places with it. So
yeah, I find they're very Avalons. I'd like to find something similar that's not replaceable. I don't really like the idea of replaceable blades.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, they're just so sharp.
Yeah.
Like they're so sharp and they're thin, and you can get them. I still I pop off moose heads and stuff like that with Avalon, and as long as you don't reef on it, you're not. Very rarely do I break blades. So but
that mallard might be a good option if you're looking for a fixed kind of Avalon-ish type thing, because it's very small, right? It's only it's just got a little blade like that.
And they're BC, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll have to check them out.
Do it. You can get our logo on there.
Yeah. Nice.
Rookie guide.
That might not go over too well.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Any other tips for sheep hunting You texted me a whole bunch of good stuff actually, but
Secrets.
secret tips. I'll keep those
Yeah,
ones
I
in the back
mean,
pocket.
I don't know. I just think you just gotta be patient and like really, really glass. Like I know that sounds obvious, like, oh yeah, like look in your glass, but like literally there's been so many times before where myself or another guide or a bunch of us are sitting there glassing, something, and then a ram just like literally appears in
Right.
your binos. And you haven't taken your eyes off that spot. You've been watching it for 10 minutes and then it just like stands up out of its bed and you're like, holy fuck. Like,
Yeah.
and not that far away, right? Like maybe a kilometer, 2 kilometers away, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just glass, like glass a ton and take your time and be patient. And oh yeah, that's what I wanted to say when we were talking about with sheep hunting, and you were saying that be a little bit different because everything else before, you see the animal and you just make a play on it. I think one thing that a guide told me when I first started wrangling, I was wrangling for him, a guy named Jared Christen, hell of a sheep guide, and he told me he'd like never try and take shortcuts for sheep ever.
Right.
Doesn't matter, like, if you like take the safe one. And granted, this more applies to guiding because it's just like you can't really afford to bust sheep and
Right.
blow them out and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you just like take the long route, right? So if you see rams, if you're looking up a drainage, and you see rams in that drainage, like don't just hike at them even if you're 4 kilometers away, right? Take the back route if you can, like wrap around the backside, come over the top,
Right.
like always just that. Don't skyline yourself like ever. I always see like I've seen people do it before. Residents, like when I've been guiding or whatever, and you just see someone like walking across a skyline like 4 kilometers away, and you're like, what the fuck are you doing? Like
blown so many mule deer opportunities when I first started chasing mule deer, doing that same thing. Just, you'd come up, and I'd always think I'd be going slow enough, right? But so you'd creep up a little bit, look around, creep up a little bit further, look around some more. There's deer right there, and they've already seen me, and I had no idea they were there. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I'd imagine it's similar in that respect. Is take your time because they're probably keeping an eye on you, and
it's just like dude, you can see animals. You'll probably see it while you're up there, especially like ewes and lambs and stuff like that. But or caribou, like you'll see a caribou. Like I'm not even kidding. You could see one on those mountains over there, skylined, like probably with the naked eye.
right.
You just like, hey, that doesn't look right. And you pull up binos, and sure enough, that's the easiest way. Like you will bust yourself from miles away,
Right.
literally. Yeah. So
Nice. Well, we'll probably be asking you more questions as we get closer to
right
it.
on.
You guys did the winter deer camp.
Yeah.
Right? How'd
Yeah, we
that go?
It was good. We didn't see any deer.
Nice.
But it was fun. It was fun. For me, that was it was more about just kind of it not being a big, how do I phrase it? Just like super casual,
Just an
right?
excuse to get together, right?
Yeah, super laid back. I grew up, when I first started hunting, I started hunting in a deer camp in Ontario, right? So you had a 1-week rifled deer season, Monday through Saturday. And my uncle's buddies would all get together, and I think there's maybe 6 of them or something like that. And they've been doing it. They've been doing it on the same property since like I think 1990 or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's one of the guys. Like he owns this property. I think it's 150 acres or something like
Right.
that. And yeah, and then everyone's they get together and their wives all come over and they kind of do like potluck dinners. So every night, one couple has like they make the meal every night. And just kind of that atmosphere, right? Like Adam and I have talked about this a bit before, but I think that maybe you don't get as much of that in British Columbia. I think you probably do for moose, like moose camps and stuff.
I think it seems to be something that's disappearing a little bit because I had uncles and stuff that they would always do their elk camp every year and stuff like that. And same thing with my old man and his hunting buddies. Every year they'd be going, and it was like had to be a tradition, right?
Yeah.
And that's part of why too. Is like after my old man passed away, one of the first things I did was I was talking to my cousin, and like we have to keep the tradition going and start our own thing. And we've kind of made it a priority every year that we book like at least like 1 to 2 week hunt.
Right.
It doesn't matter where we go, but we keep that tradition going because it's important, man. If you don't plan that shit and say we're doing it every year, then you might not do it, right?
Yeah, Yeah, that was kind of definitely the reason behind it for me. And I think it's also nice too, like as much as I love something like a goat hunt, it's like type 2 fun, 100%. Like late season goat hunting is not really fun at the time. Like you have fun moments, but it's also just like
story building.
Yeah,
It's like-
it's just like it's fucking you suffering, right?
Yeah.
Like I think any backpack hunting, right? But especially when you have bad weather. So for me, it was like, hey, like I grew up in this. A couple of the other guys that went with us, or one of the other guys that went with us, same deal. Like he grew up in Ontario in a deer camp. That was his first exposure to hunting, and I think it's just good to kick back and have a super casual hunt. And for me, it's like I got meat in the freezer. I really don't care if I see a deer, which I didn't. So
Nice.
yeah, but it was fun, and I agree. I think it's one of those things like you have to, I'm starting to realize that things in life don't just or good things in life or important things often don't just happen by accident, right? Whether that's you doing your first sheep hunt, if you don't just say I'm going to do this now, I think just time slips by and life,
Exactly.
all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
Well, hopefully we can make the next one.
yeah. I'm trying to figure something out for spring bear. See, the unfortunate thing is I'm not a planner, which I mentioned before. So it's like my hope was that I'm like, I'll just send an email to like 15 people and someone will be like, oh yeah, and like just spearhead the whole thing.
Right.
Everyone just texts me. They're like, hey, so like, what's the deal for the bear? I'm like, oh fuck, can't someone just plan this for me? Like, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, you did your job.
Yeah, you started it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you guys do the rest.
Yeah, but yeah, we're gonna try and get a bear camp together, this spring. Similar idea.
Cool.
Check out some wall tents or whatever. It doesn't matter, and everyone can break off. I think it'd be fun to do it on the island. A couple guys have boats, so
Nice.
I know some good places. It's all like logging roads and stuff, but it's right on the coast,
Right.
and it's pretty protected inlets, so you can just you could hop in a boat and zip around.
Cool.
And hit some of the like the boat access logging roads and all that kind of stuff.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it's something we always want to do. We see the email, it's like, oh
Yeah,
it's just stuff gets stacked up on top of each other
Totally.
quick too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
for sure. Cool, man. I can give you a second to think about this. You got a hunting story you can leave us with? I'm sure you got a few.
Ooh.
I should have warned you ahead of time, but sometimes we get some gems by just spurring it, throwing it out.
What kind of a hunting story?
Anyone.
We had a Sasquatch story once.
You had a Sasquatch story. That's
Yeah.
badass.
Fly fishing guide going up the river, and he just heard some weird sounds.
Yeah. It's not really like a hunting story, but I like seeing wolves.
Yeah.
Because they're everywhere and I never see them. So just you hear them, see their tracks on the horse trail, that kind of stuff, see their tracks in the snow. Yeah, and we don't see them that often. They're super smart. They're so fucking smart. Like it's crazy. Anyways, this year I had 2 clients with me and we had just shot a caribou. I'm trying to think pieces together in my mind. Yeah, we just shot a caribou. And they also had goat tags, and I just told them like, look, I'll deal with this. You guys keep glassing, like just go up on this ridge, kind of 100 yards off to the left. You guys can glass for goats because that was kind of our next objective. And I can't remember what day it was in the hunt, or it was probably halfway through like a 2-week hunt.
Right.
It was actually on the back end of a 2-week hunt, but yeah, and the guys were sitting there, and then one of them calls me over, and he's like, yeah, dude, there's a wolf over there. I'm like, oh, cool, we're fucking right. Like where? And he's like, yeah, you see that big white thing? And I'm like, thinking it's like a fucking boulder or whatever, some I don't know, a rock that's wet and in the sun on this mountain. Like I think it was 2 miles away, so I don't know what that is in kilometers, but a few. So
Yeah.
Anyways, and I'm like, yeah, and he's like, yeah, that's the fucking wolf. I'm like, whoa, are you serious? And anyways, giant, pure white wolf. And I think it was digging for marmots.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was up like literally on this like where you would expect to see goats, like this knife ridge, super steep hillside, just digging for marmots. And anyways, so like we had wolf tags, and I tried to call it in, ripped a big howl, and the thing just like snapped, head looked straight at us and then just ran straight down the mountain, like just barely. And we watched it coming through the valley, and then it hit a section of timber and disappeared. So
Wow.
it probably caught our wind.
Right.
Yeah, caught our wind. Plus, I was skinning a caribou on a ridge line, so like they can see well.
Right.
So yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And then the interesting thing is we came back the next day for all the meat. So we, after I broke it down, deboned everything, put it into game bags and put it in the snow. And this was, would have been like the 20th of September or something like that, and cooler temperatures and stuff like that. But we were above the tree line. So I'd put these game bags in the snow, and then the wolves hit it like that next morning or that night or whatever. Cause we were calling them, there were wolves in the area, blood smell everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing about that, I thought, was that they went straight for the back straps. There's like all of this meat, and they dug a bunch of meat out and then just ate back straps.
That's hilarious.
Like, yeah, I'd probably do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Went for the good stuff, eh?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
The dire wolf, like Game of Thrones size wolf out there, eh?
Oh, dude, northern wolves are big. Like, they don't weigh. People always think they weigh like a shit ton. They'll be like, oh, it's 200 pounds or something like that. But they're big. They're big.
It's tall and
yeah, it's kind of
lean,
like long, a German Shepherd, or
Right.
longer than a German Shepherd, but like they have stilts basically. They're
Right.
just fucking tall. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, they're cool to see.
cool. Yeah, I've only seen a few wolves, but yeah, I heard a ton of them.
Mm-hmm.
Never, yeah, it's hard. The ones I've seen have been on the side of a highway, so I don't really count that as a
Yeah.
wolf encounter. But
Yeah, I think I've only seen, I don't know, maybe like 15 wolves or something like that, like in the last 5 years. And like I spent a good amount of time in
Yeah.
wolf country, so
Yeah.
hear them lots at night. Had one come right through my camp this year, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was pretty cool. Heard him calling. Didn't have any clients in. Heard them calling at like 5:45 in the morning or something like that, because I didn't have a client. I'm like, yeah, I'm not getting up right now.
Yeah.
And then calling again and closer, and then hear it. I'm like, holy fuck, that's like right outside my tent.
Mm-hmm.
And I jumped up and ran out. And anyways, yeah, the tracks were like 30 yards from
Jeez.
just like came through in the snow and
Yeah.
off. So that's
Huh.
cool. Yeah.
Wow.
I think I mentioned this before, but one of the guys I work with, he was up north. They went up a riverboat, like a elk hunt,
Mhm.
and he hiked up a ridge by himself. And earlier that I think it was the night before, a wolf had come through camp, and he thought about grabbing the rifle and taking a shot at it, but he just
Mhm.
figured like, oh, I don't want to scare everything away that's near us, right? So they go to bed, they wake up, he goes hiking, and then he made it to the top. And he was eating this snack, so he pulls this like chocolate bar out of his pocket, and he lays down, takes a couple bites, and he looks over, and there's a wolf sticking his head through a bush like 10 yards away.
Yeah.
And he just said he just had enough time. He grabbed his rifle and shot it into the air,
Yeah.
and the thing just took off.
Took off like a shot. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty. His nickname's Kibbles and Bits now because the wolf
Nice.
kept following him around.
Nice. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, they can be pretty inquisitive. I don't know. I've never like felt threatened by wolves. They don't ever like ransack the camp or anything. They don't mess with the horses either. But yeah, I think they can be kind of inquisitive, and it's always fun. Like, if you ever get a chance to call with wolves, do it 100%. It's just so much fun.
Yeah, my old man used to do that all the time because he'd go up to our cabin in the wintertime and the lake would freeze over.
Yeah.
And so he'd hear him and he'd go out on the deck and start calling him in.
Yeah.
And I guess he was pretty successful at doing it.
Nice.
But, yeah, he loved it.
I've never successfully like called one in and shot it or had a
Yeah,
client
he
shoot
never
it or
shot
anything.
them. He just liked seeing them up there. So.
Yeah. But they can, they can put a hurting on the critters for sure.
Yeah,
That's for
definitely.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. It's a topic for another podcast.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool, man. Well, anything you want to end on?
I don't think so.
We got it all?
I think so, yeah.
Cool. We'll do it again sometime, man.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thanks for your
Thanks
time.
for having me on.
Yeah, you
Thanks,
bet.
man.
Cheers.
Cheers.
This episode of Rookie Hunter was also brought to you by North Arm Knives. North Arm Knives are handcrafted and sold directly through a father and son team right here in British Columbia. Choose from a selection of outdoor knives, kitchen knives, and custom engravings from northarmknives.com. They ship internationally and guarantee all of their work. Kelly and I have put their products to the ultimate test and give them our stamp of approval. Head over to northarmknives.com.